Here's something your eye doctor probably never told you. The moment you turn 60, your eyes begin losing a critical protective pigment layer by layer, almost completely invisibly. No pain, no warning, just a slow, quiet thinning that eventually shows up as blurry words on a menu, headlights that seem to explode in your vision at night, or that unsettling moment when you can't quite make out your grandchild's face across the dinner table. And what makes this even more alarming? Most people are eating the very foods they think are helping their eyes, only to discover those foods are barely scratching the surface. Dr. Emily Carter. I've become genuinely fascinated by one question. Why do some people reach their 80s with sharp, clear, almost youthful vision, while others are legally blind before 70? Is it purely genetics? Is it luck? The answer, as it turns out, is almost entirely nutritional, and it's more specific than most people realize. Today, I'm going to walk you through 8 powerful foods, ranked in order of their impact on eye protection after 60, that are backed by clinical research and supported by years of real-world patient outcomes in my own practice. And I want to be honest with you right now. Number 1 on this list genuinely shocked me the first time I came across the research. It's something most people already have in their kitchen. It's inexpensive, and yet almost nobody connects it to eye health. I promise you'll want to stay until the very end. Before we dive in, I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from today? And what's going on with your eyes? Are you dealing with blurriness, dryness, light sensitivity, or just that general sense that your vision isn't quite what it used to be? Drop your city and a quick note in the comments below. I read every single one, and your experience genuinely helps me shape future content for this community. Now, let's get into the countdown. Food number 8, raw pumpkin seeds. We're going to start with something incredibly humble, something you can buy for less than $3 a bag at any grocery store. And yet, when it comes to protecting the structural integrity of your aging eyes, very few foods come close to what raw pumpkin seeds can do. Here's why this matters specifically for people over 60. As we age, the lens inside your eye, the transparent structure that focuses light onto your retina, begins to lose its ability to stay clear. The primary reason this happens isn't just age, it's the progressive depletion of a mineral called zinc. Zinc acts as a molecular escort for vitamin A inside your eye. It carries it through the bloodstream and deposits it directly into the retina, where it's converted into a protective pigment called melanin. Without adequate zinc, even if you're eating vitamin A-rich foods, your retina can't actually absorb and use those nutrients effectively. The delivery system breaks down entirely. And here's the clinical reality. A landmark study published in the Archives of Ophthalmology showed that older adults with the highest zinc intake were 27% less likely to develop advanced macular degeneration over a 5-year follow-up period. That's not a trivial number. That's nearly a 1 in 4 reduction in serious vision loss risk from a single mineral. Now, pumpkin seeds are the single most zinc-dense whole food per gram on the planet. 1 ounce, about a small handful, delivers nearly 20% of your daily zinc requirement in a completely bioavailable form. They also contain a powerful antioxidant called gamma-tocopherol, a form of vitamin E that specifically protects the delicate fats inside your retinal cells from oxidative damage caused by UV light exposure. Here's how to get the most out of them. Choose raw, unsalted, hulled pumpkin seeds, not roasted. The roasting process can degrade up to 30% of their zinc content through heat oxidation. Eat approximately 1 ounce, roughly 2 tablespoons, in the early evening. The zinc will peak in your bloodstream during overnight sleep cycles, exactly when your eyes are doing their deepest cellular repair. Combine them with a small slice of cheese or a tablespoon of tahini. The fats in both of those pair beautifully with gamma-tocopherol and amplify its absorption significantly. I had a patient, a 67-year-old retired teacher named Harold, who had been wearing increasingly thick reading glasses for nearly 4 years. His optometrist had noted early signs of lens clouding. Within 3 months of adding just one handful of raw pumpkin seeds to his evening routine, his follow-up exam showed a measurable reduction in oxidative markers in his lens tissue. His optometrist was genuinely puzzled. Harold just smiled and told him he'd been doing his homework. Food number 7, tart cherries. Now, this one surprises nearly everyone I mention it to, and I understand why. Cherries don't exactly come to mind when you think about eye health, but what I'm about to share with you connects two things that most doctors never link together: the quality of your sleep and the rate at which your eyes deteriorate. Here's the connection. During deep, slow-wave sleep, your body releases a surge of a hormone called melatonin. Most people think of melatonin only as a sleep hormone, but here's what the research actually shows. Melatonin is one of the most powerful antioxidants your body produces, and the retina contains its own melatonin receptors. Your eye tissue actually depends on melatonin to neutralize free radical damage that accumulates from a full day of light exposure. When you don't sleep deeply or long enough, which is extremely common after 60, this melatonin surge is blunted, and your retinal cells simply don't complete their overnight repair cycle. The damage accumulates over months and years. That adds up to measurable vision decline. Here's where tart cherries become genuinely remarkable. They are, by a significant margin, the highest natural food source of plant-derived melatonin on the planet. A study from Louisiana State University found that adults who drank tart cherry juice for 2 weeks increased their total sleep time by an average of 84 minutes and significantly deepened their slow-wave sleep stages. More deep sleep means a longer, more complete melatonin window, which means your retinas get to finish the repair work they were designed to do. But that's only half the story. Tart cherries are also extraordinarily rich in anthocyanins, specifically cyanidin 3-glucoside, a compound that has been clinically shown to reduce intraocular pressure, improve microcirculation inside the eye, and directly protect the optic nerve from inflammatory damage. A Japanese study published in the Journal of Functional Foods tracked 60 adults with mild glaucoma over a 12-week period. Those who consumed tart cherry extract daily showed a statistically significant reduction in intraocular pressure, one of the main drivers of permanent optic nerve damage in glaucoma patients. To use this practically, drink 4 ounces of 100% tart cherry juice, not sweetened, not cocktail, diluted in 4 ounces of water about 60 to 90 minutes before bed. If you prefer whole fruit, half a cup of frozen tart cherries works equally well. Don't add sugar. The natural tartness is actually a sign of potency. Those bitter compounds are where the therapeutic anthocyanins live. Give this at least 4 weeks of consistency before you judge the results. If you're still here with me and finding this helpful, take a moment to type 7 in the comments. It lets me know you're watching and getting value from this. Food number 6, avocado. If there's one food that I wish every single person over the age of 60 was eating regularly for their eye health, it's the avocado. Not because it's trendy, but because of something almost no one understands about how nutrients actually reach your retina. Here's the critical concept. The most important eye protective compounds, lutein and zeaxanthin, are fat-soluble. That means if you eat them without enough healthy fat present in your digestive system at the same time, your body absorbs only a fraction of them. One study showed that eating a salad full of lutein-rich greens without any fat resulted in near zero absorption of those eye protective carotenoids. Zero. Avocado solves this problem entirely, and it does it in 2 ways simultaneously. First, one medium avocado contains approximately 1.3 milligrams of lutein in its own right, one of the highest concentrations of any fruit. Second, its rich, healthy fat content, primarily oleic acid. The same monounsaturated fat in olive oil dramatically boosts the absorption of lutein and zeaxanthin from every other food you eat alongside it. A clinical study from Ohio State University found that adding avocado to a meal increased lutein absorption from other foods by 400% and zeaxanthin absorption by over 1,200%. Think about that for a moment. Simply adding half an avocado to a meal containing any greens or orange vegetables multiplied the eye protective impact of those foods by more than 10 times. And there's another dimension here that most people completely overlook. Avocados are one of the richest food sources of vitamin E, specifically alpha tocopherol, which protects the lens of your eye from the UV-induced oxidative stress that drives cataract formation. People with the highest vitamin E levels in their bloodstream have been shown to have a 25% reduced risk of developing cataracts over a 10-year period. Eat half an avocado with dinner at least 4 evenings per week. The simplest way is sliced on a piece of whole grain toast with a sprinkle of sea salt and red pepper flakes, or mashed alongside whatever protein you're already eating. Make a point of pairing it with dark leafy greens, sweet vegetables, or eggs. The fat-soluble synergy that happens in your digestive system will silently multiply the nutritional impact of your entire plate. Food number 5. Dark leafy greens, the specific kind matters. At this point in the video, I want to pause and address something that comes up constantly in the comments on this channel. Dr. Franklin, I already eat salads. I eat plenty of vegetables. So why is my vision still declining? Here's the answer. It's not just about eating greens. It's about eating the right greens prepared in the right way at the right time of day. The eye protective duo that matters most, lutein and zeaxanthin, are present in radically different concentrations depending on the specific leafy green you choose. Iceberg lettuce, nearly zero. Romaine, small amounts. But cooked kale delivers approximately 23 milligrams of lutein per cup. Cooked spinach delivers around 20 milligrams. Cooked collard greens, a food that often gets underrated, delivers an extraordinary 26 milligrams per cooked cup. That's among the highest of any food on the planet. Why do these two nutrients matter so much specifically after 60? Lutein and zeaxanthin are the only two dietary carotenoids that concentrate selectively in your macula, the 5 mm central region of your retina responsible for all the sharp, detailed vision you depend on for reading, driving, recognizing faces, and watching your grandchildren perform in the school play. They form what researchers call macular pigment. And that pigment acts as a living biological filter, absorbing blue light before it can damage your photoreceptor cells and neutralizing the free radicals that accumulate daily from both UV exposure and digital screen time. The landmark AREDS-2 study, one of the largest and most rigorous eye health trials ever conducted, confirmed definitively that higher macular pigment optical density is directly correlated with a significantly lower risk of age-related macular degeneration progressing to its advanced vision-threatening stages. Now, here's the preparation point that changes everything. Cook your dark greens lightly. Don't eat them raw if eye health is your primary goal. Cooking breaks down the cell wall matrix that surrounds lutein and zeaxanthin molecules, releasing them into a form your digestive system can actually absorb. A study in the British Journal of Nutrition confirmed that bioavailability of lutein from cooked spinach was up to 4 times higher than from raw spinach. Sauté 1 to 2 cups of kale, spinach, or collard greens in 1 teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil with a minced garlic clove for 4 to 5 minutes over medium heat. Season with lemon juice and sea salt. Eat this with dinner at least 5 nights per week. Consistency is everything here. Lutein accumulates in your macula over weeks and months, not overnight. But it builds like a fortress, and every serving adds another protective layer. If this has been helpful so far, consider sharing this with a friend or loved one who is concerned about their vision. Most people don't realize how much the right foods can protect their eyes. and a simple like helps more people find this information. Food number 4, walnuts. We're entering the top 4 now, and the research around these remaining foods becomes increasingly compelling. Let's talk about walnuts because they represent one of the most underappreciated tools for long-term retinal vascular health in all of nutritional medicine. And for older adults specifically, this is where the stakes become very real. Your retina is fed by a network of microscopic blood vessels, some of the smallest and most delicate in your entire body. As we age, chronic low-grade inflammation, oxidative stress, and elevated blood sugar all contribute to the gradual stiffening and narrowing of those vessels. When blood flow to the retina becomes compromised, the photoreceptor cells begin to starve for oxygen and nutrients. That process, called retinal ischemia, is one of the primary underlying drivers of both macular degeneration and diabetic eye disease. Walnuts are uniquely positioned to interrupt this process at multiple levels. They are one of the only plant foods that contain significant amounts of ALA, alpha-linolenic acid, the plant form of omega-3 fatty acids. While ALA is not as directly bioavailable as the DHA found in fatty fish, it plays a critical and often overlooked role in reducing systemic inflammatory markers that directly damage retinal blood vessel walls. A study published in Nutrients found that older adults who consumed a small handful of walnuts daily for 8 weeks showed measurable reductions in 2 key inflammatory markers, CRP and IL-6, that are independently associated with accelerated retinal vessel disease. But here's what makes walnuts even more compelling. They contain a compound called ellagic acid, which research has shown can actually protect the retinal ganglion cells, the nerve cells that transmit visual signals from your eye to your brain, from apoptosis. In plain English, walnuts help keep those critical neural connections alive. Eat approximately 1 ounce, about 7 whole walnuts, in the evening, ideally after dinner. Store them in the refrigerator in an airtight container to preserve their delicate polyunsaturated oils from going rancid. Rancid walnut oil is not just less effective, it actually introduces oxidative compounds that work against your goals. Buy them in small quantities and rotate fresh stock every 2 to 3 weeks. Pair them with a small square of dark chocolate. And stay tuned because that specific pairing connects directly to the number 1 food on this list. Food spot 3, turmeric with black pepper. Now we arrive at something truly extraordinary in eye health research, and something that until very recently was almost entirely ignored by mainstream ophthalmology: turmeric. Specifically, its active compound curcumin. Here's the critical context for people over 60. One of the most damaging processes in the aging eye is something called neuroinflammation of the retina. As photoreceptor cells age and accumulate oxidative damage, they begin releasing inflammatory signals that activate immune cells inside the retina called microglia. Under normal circumstances, microglia clean up cellular debris and protect retinal tissue. But in chronic low-grade neuroinflammation, the kind that becomes increasingly common after 60, microglia become overactivated and actually begin destroying healthy retinal cells along with the damaged ones. This process, known as microglial overactivation, is now understood to be a central driver of both age-related macular degeneration and glaucomatous optic nerve degeneration. Curcumin is one of the very few naturally occurring compounds that can cross the blood-retinal barrier, the protective filter that separates your systemic blood supply from your delicate retinal tissue and directly suppress this process. A clinical trial published in the British Journal of Ophthalmology found that patients with early-stage macular degeneration who took curcumin supplementation for 12 months showed significantly better preservation of visual function compared to placebo, with improvements in mean sensitivity across the central visual field. But here's the catch that most people get wrong. Curcumin on its own has very poor bioavailability. Less than 3% of what you consume typically reaches your bloodstream. The transformation happens when you add black pepper. Black pepper contains a compound called piperine that temporarily disables a specific intestinal enzyme responsible for metabolizing curcumin before it can be absorbed. The result, just a quarter teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper alongside turmeric can increase curcumin bioavailability by up to 2,000%. Here's the evening preparation I recommend. Warm 1 cup of whole milk or unsweetened oat milk in a small saucepan over low heat. Stir in 1 teaspoon of high-quality turmeric powder, 1/4 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper, a small pinch of cinnamon, and half a teaspoon of raw honey. This combination, sometimes called golden milk, delivers curcumin in a fat-soluble medium, which is its most bioavailable form, along with piperine's absorption-boosting effect. Drink it slowly about 45 minutes before bed. The anti-inflammatory action on your retinal microglia happens primarily during sleep when your body's repair systems are most active. Think of this drink as a nightly reset for your retinal immune system. Food number 2, wild blueberries, not regular blueberries. Here's why this difference matters. We are now at number 2. And I want to slow down here because there's a distinction that the research makes very clearly, and it's a distinction that grocery store labels almost never help you understand. Wild blueberries and cultivated blueberries are not nutritionally equivalent, not even close. Wild blueberries, the small, intensely dark ones typically sold frozen from Maine or Canada, contain anywhere from 2 to 3 times more anthocyanins per gram than their larger cultivated counterparts. The reason is simple. Wild blueberries grow in harsh, nutrient-poor soil conditions, exposed to extreme temperature swings and high UV radiation. Under that stress, they produce massive quantities of protective anthocyanin pigments as a biological defense mechanism. When you eat them, you absorb those same protective compounds. Anthocyanins have a remarkable relationship with the aging eye that goes far beyond simple antioxidant activity. Here's what the research shows. At the University of Montreal, scientists demonstrated that the specific anthocyanins in wild blueberries can bind to and stabilize a critical protein called rhodopsin, the light-sensitive pigment in your rod cells that enables vision in low-light conditions. As we age, rhodopsin regenerates more slowly after exposure to bright light, which is why older adults often experience prolonged visual recovery time after going from a bright environment into a darker one. That uncomfortable extended blindness when entering a dim restaurant or leaving a bright store. Wild blueberry anthocyanins have been shown to accelerate rhodopsin regeneration by up to 58%. But the finding I find most exciting comes from a Japanese study published in the journal Nutrients. Researchers gave adults over 60 a standardized wild blueberry extract for just 8 weeks. At the end of the trial, participants showed a measurable increase in retinal blood vessel flexibility, meaning the tiny capillaries feeding their retinas were better able to dilate and contract in response to changing oxygen demands. That's not just protective, that's genuinely restorative. Use frozen wild blueberries. They retain virtually all their anthocyanin content. Thaw half a cup in the refrigerator during the day and eat them in the evening, about 60 to 90 minutes before bed. Combine them with a tablespoon of full-fat plain Greek yogurt. The probiotics in the yogurt improve the conversion of anthocyanin precursors in your gut, and the fat content boosts their passage across the intestinal wall. Do not cook them. Heat destroys anthocyanins rapidly. A 5-minute simmer can eliminate 40 to 70% of their potency. I've had more patient testimonials about wild blueberries than almost any other food on this list. One of my patients, a 74-year-old woman named Eleanor, who had been complaining of slow adaptation to darkness for years, began eating half a cup of wild blueberries every evening. After 6 weeks, She told me she'd noticed she could see the faces of other diners in a restaurant when she first walked in from outside, something she hadn't been able to do in over 3 years. Small change, profound impact. Food number one, raw cacao. And here we are, the food I promised you at the very beginning of this video, the one that genuinely surprised me when I first read the research, the one you almost certainly have in your kitchen right now, or can easily add to your routine for almost no cost. Raw cacao, not chocolate bars, not hot cocoa powder. Raw cacao, the minimally processed form of the cacao bean that retains the full spectrum of its bioactive compounds. Here's why this matters specifically for aging eyes and why it rises above everything else on this list. Your optic nerve, the cable of approximately 1.2 million nerve fibers that carries every single visual signal from your eye to your brain, depends entirely on healthy blood flow for its survival. As we age, the small vessels feeding the optic nerve become progressively stiffer and blood flow decreases. When the optic nerve is chronically underperfused, meaning it doesn't receive enough blood, the nerve fibers begin to degenerate. This process, known as glaucomatous optic neuropathy, is the second leading cause of irreversible blindness in the world. Raw cacao contains the highest concentration of flavonols, specifically epicatechin and catechin, of any food on Earth. And these flavonols do something that no other dietary compound does with the same consistency or potency. They directly stimulate the production of nitric oxide in the walls of your blood vessels. Nitric oxide is your body's master vasodilator. It signals the smooth muscle cells in your blood vessel walls to relax, allowing vessels to widen and blood to flow more freely. In the context of the optic nerve and the retina, this means better oxygenation, more efficient nutrient delivery, and critically reduced intraocular pressure through improved fluid drainage. A clinical study published in JAMA Ophthalmology gave participants a single serving of high flavonol dark chocolate and then measured their visual acuity using contrast sensitivity testing 2 hours later. The results were stunning. Participants showed a statistically significant improvement in contrast sensitivity, the ability to distinguish fine detail against complex backgrounds, compared to those who consumed low flavonol white chocolate. The researchers attributed this directly to improved microvascular perfusion in the retina. A separate study from Harvard Medical School, tracking over 100,000 participants over 10 years, found that people with the highest cocoa flavonol intake had a significantly reduced risk of cardiovascular events, and more relevantly for us, measurably better preservation of small vessel function throughout the body, including the eye. Here's the critical preparation detail. It must be raw cacao powder, not Dutch processed cocoa. Dutch processing uses an alkalizing treatment that destroys up to 90% of the flavonol content to reduce bitterness. Raw cacao is more bitter. That bitterness is the signal that the flavonols are intact. Choose certified organic raw cacao powder from a brand that specifies minimal processing. Make this your nightly ritual. Stir 1 tablespoon of raw cacao powder into a warm mug of unsweetened almond milk or oat milk. Add a pinch of cayenne pepper. The capsaicin in cayenne further dilates blood vessels and amplifies the nitric oxide cascade triggered by the cacao flavonols. Add half a teaspoon of raw honey if needed for taste. Drink it approximately 30 to 45 minutes before sleep. The nitric oxide production peaks about 90 minutes after consumption and remains elevated for several hours, which means it's actively working on your optic nerve and retinal microvasculature throughout the first portion of your overnight sleep cycle. Night after night, week after week, this is the kind of compounding biological benefit that shows up in your visual field tests, in your intraocular pressure readings, and eventually in the quality of your daily vision. I want to share something personal with you. 4 years ago, a patient of mine, a 78-year-old retired engineer named George, came to me with progressive glaucomatous damage in his left eye and measurably declining peripheral vision. We worked together on a comprehensive nutritional protocol, and raw cacao was the centerpiece of his evening routine. After 18 months, his ophthalmologist documented in writing that the rate of progression in his visual field loss had slowed dramatically. His optic nerve hadn't magically reversed its damage, but for the first time in years, it had stopped actively deteriorating. George told me it felt like the cliff edge he'd been approaching had moved further away. That's what this kind of consistent, intentional nutritional strategy can do. So there you have it. 8 powerful, research-backed foods that can protect and even begin to restore aging eyes after 60. Let me give you the full countdown one more time. Number 8, raw pumpkin seeds, the zinc-based delivery system for retinal vitamin A. Number 7, tart cherries for deeper sleep, fuller melatonin surges, and overnight retinal repair. Number 6, avocado, the fat-soluble multiplier that makes every other eye food work harder. Number 5, dark leafy greens, cooked, the lutein and zeaxanthin foundation of macular protection. Number 4, walnuts for retinal vascular integrity and ganglion cell survival. Number 3, turmeric with black pepper, the neuroinflammation suppressor that crosses the blood-retinal barrier. Number 2, wild blueberries, the rhodopsin stabilizer and microvascular restore. And number 1, raw cacao, the most potent natural driver of optic nerve blood flow available without a prescription. Now, none of these foods are magic. None of them replace regular eye exams, and none of them are a substitute for the guidance of your own physician. But the research is clear. What you eat consistently, especially in the evening hours when your eyes are preparing to do their most intense of overnight repair, has a profound and measurable effect on how well you see in the years ahead. You have more control over this than anyone has probably told you. Before you go, I have one favor to ask. If this video gave you something genuinely useful, and if there was even one fact here that changed how you think about your diet and your eye health, would you please give it a thumbs up? It takes 2 seconds, and it means the world for getting this information in front of more seniors who truly need it. And if you're new here, welcome. Hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell. Every week, I share practical, science-backed health strategies specifically designed for adults over 60 who want to take control of their longevity and live sharp, independent, and fully alive. And one more thing, drop a comment below. Tell me which of these 8 foods you're going to add to your routine first. I'd also love to know what's the biggest vision challenge you're dealing with right now. Dryness, night driving, reading strain. Tell me in the comments and I'll make sure future videos address exactly what you're going through. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of your eyes. They're the lens through which you experience every moment of this beautiful life.